I never imagined life would bring me to this point. When my mother went bankrupt, her grand mansion was gone, and the world that once praised her suddenly turned its back. She knocked on the doors of my siblings' homes. Those doors were not just closed, they were shut with words full of contempt, as if blood ties and all her sacrifices had never existed. With hesitant steps, my mother finally came to my small, cramped house. I welcomed her warmly, kissed her hand, and embraced her. My wife and child did the same, without questions, without conditions, without resentment. And from that moment on, our lives began to change direction. Before we get into the story, don't forget to say hi in the comments and tell us where you're watching from, and make sure to hit the subscribe button on Stories with Meaning channel so you won't miss our next interesting story. My name is Nathan. I am the youngest of 3 siblings. 10 years ago, our father passed away, and since then, our lives split into 3 very different paths that never aligned again. My oldest brother, Adrian Cole, is a doctor. His life is well established, his name spoken with respect. His white coat is a symbol of success. My second sibling, Vanessa Cole, is married to a government official in Washington, D.C. She lives in a luxurious home, drives expensive cars, and moves within elite social circles. And then there's me, standing far beneath their shadows. I work as a construction laborer. I earn about $7 a day, an amount that often feels insignificant against the rising cost of living. But I always remind myself, this income is honest and God never sleeps. My wife, Isabella, helps support our family by working as a laundry worker in the neighborhood. Her hands are rough, her clothes often soaked with soapy water, yet her face remains calm. My son, Leo, is in the 4th grade. He rarely asks for anything. More often, he stays quiet, as if he's already learned to understand hardship before truly knowing what it means. My mother, Eleanor Whitmore, was once the owner of a major corporation in New York. Her name was well known, her wealth the subject of admiration, but in the midst of that luxury, I was the child most often looked down upon. At every family gathering, I was merely an extra, sitting in the corner, rarely spoken to. I remember one day at my mother's house, Adrian looked at me and chuckled. "Still working construction?" "Yes," I replied. "For how long? It's a shame. If Dad could see you now, after all that education." I forced a bitter smile. Vanessa added, without even looking up from her phone, "As long as you don't become a burden to the family. Your life is already hard. Don't make it harder for others." My mother heard everything. She didn't scold them, didn't defend me. She simply stayed silent, as if those words were justified. Sometimes she would call me to her house, gave me rice and a little money for her grandson. I accepted it with my head bowed, holding back feelings that never truly healed. Until one day, everything changed. My mother's company collapsed. Debts came from every direction. The grand house emptied. One by one, her valuable possessions were sold. I heard she tried to stay at Adrian's house. His response was cold. "Sorry, Mom, my house is not a shelter. My reputation could be damaged." Then she went to Vanessa's home. Vanessa didn't even invite her inside. "You're used to a luxurious life, Mom. Our house is simple. It won't suit you. Besides, people might think we're going bankrupt too." Those words cut deeper than any knife. That night, there was a soft knock on the door of my small rental home. When I opened it, my mother stood there, without jewelry, without a driver. Her face was pale, her eyes swollen. I froze for a moment, then instinctively took her hand. I kissed it and embraced her fragile body. "Come in, Mom." Isabella and Leo came out of the room. They greeted her warmly, without asking anything. That night, my mother cried uncontrollably. "I'm sorry, Nathan. I was wrong. I looked too high above and forgot to look down." I replied softly, "It's okay, Mom. Let the past be the past." Our days became tighter, but warmer. Until one morning, I came home from work without pay. Not a single dollar in my pocket. I sat in silence. Isabella approached me and placed something in my hand. Our wedding ring. She said gently, "Sell it. I'm willing." My throat tightened. In the corner of the room, my mother watched the scene. Tears fell silently down her cheeks. And I had no idea that our hardest day would become the beginning of a great secret that time had been hiding. Since my mother moved in with us, the house felt different. The walls were the same, the roof still leaked in the corner of the kitchen, but there was a new silence, one that sometimes felt heavy. My mother often sat quietly, staring at the floor, as if she were recounting her life. Every morning, I still went to the construction site. Isabella prepared a simple meal, rice and whatever side dish we had. My mother always stood at the door when I left. "Be careful, Nathan." "I will, Mom." Her voice was different now. No authority, no distance, only concern. Leo went to school wearing sandals that were starting to wear thin. One day, he said softly, "Dad, when I grow up, I'll do any job, as long as you and Mom don't have to work so hard anymore." Those words made every step I took that day feel heavier. At home, my mother tried to help however she could, sweeping, folding clothes, or assisting Isabella with the laundry. Sometimes I caught her staring at Isabella's rough, soap-worn hands. "I used to get angry just because a tablecloth was wrinkled," my mother murmured one afternoon. Isabella smiled gently. "Now what matters is that it's clean, Mom." One night, the electricity was about to be cut off. I sat on the porch counting coins. My mother came and sat beside me. "Nathan, I still have some savings. Use it." I shook my head. "No, Mom, I'll figure something out tomorrow." She lowered her head, her hands trembling. From that night on, I often saw her crying quietly. A few days later, when I came home earlier than usual, I saw Isabella sitting in the bedroom staring at the wedding ring we hadn't sold yet. Leo was asleep beside her. I knew we were reaching our limit. The next day, as the sun began to set, someone came. An old man, his hair completely white, his face full of deep wrinkles, stood at our door. An old man stood in front of the house, staring for a long moment before finally knocking. "I'm looking for Mrs. Whitmore," he said softly. My mother stepped out. The moment she saw him, her face turned pale. "Mr. Hartono," she whispered, her voice trembling. The man bowed respectfully. "I was your late husband's trusted driver." My mother invited him inside. We sat together in our small living room. The old man placed a worn wooden box on the table. Its surface was dull, tightly locked. "This was entrusted to me by your late husband," he said. "I've kept it for 15 years. He told me this box must only be given to you when you have truly fallen and have no one left." My mother closed her eyes, her hands shaking violently. Mr. Hartono handed her a small key. He said what's inside is not just wealth, but a responsibility. I held my breath. Isabella stood behind my mother. Leo had woken up and was peeking from the bedroom door. When the key turned, the clicking sound echoed clearly in the narrow room. My mother slowly opened the box. A second later, her face turned ghostly pale. Her body swayed. I quickly caught her before she fell. Inside the box, gold bars shimmered before our eyes, neatly arranged. Beneath them lay thick folders containing land and property certificates. My mother sobbed. "Oh, God!" Her trembling hands reached for a letter. My father's handwriting was still clear, still firm. I stood frozen, my heart pounding uncontrollably. I didn't yet know the value, but I knew one thing. Whatever was in that box would change everything. My hands were still supporting my mother as she collapsed weakly onto the wooden chair. The old box lay open before us like a mouth of time that had long been sealed. The gold didn't feel beautiful. It felt terrifying. Isabella covered her mouth. Leo stood frozen, eyes wide. I gently led him back to the room. "Go inside first, Leo." I didn't want his innocence to be touched by something that might not bring peace. Mr. Hartono sat upright, his face serious. "Your father collected that gold little by little, from projects, land deals, and years of hard work. He never told anyone, except me, about the amount and the responsibility. My mother opened the letter with trembling hands. The paper had yellowed, but my father's words felt alive. "Nathan, my son." My mother broke down before she could continue. I took the letter and read it slowly. "This wealth is prepared for your old age. If one day you fall and no one is willing to support you anymore, open it. After that, distribute it to our children, but only when they are worthy of receiving it. Do not rush. Do not act out of pity. Wealth placed in the wrong hands will only become a disaster." I stopped reading. My chest felt tight. My mother covered her face. "Your father understood your children better than I ever did," she whispered. "With Mr. Hartono's help, we counted everything carefully. 3,000 grams of gold, land and building certificates in several strategic locations across New York and Chicago. The total value reached approximately $55 million. The number felt too large for our tiny home, too foreign for our simple lives. I sat down, my legs weak. All my life, I had never held more than a few $100s, and now a responsibility of this magnitude felt like it had been placed directly on my chest. My mother looked at me for a long time. "Nathan, I entrust everything to you." I shook my head firmly. "No, Mom, this isn't mine. It's yours." She shook her head slowly. "I failed to guide my children, but you stood by me when I fell. Your father didn't choose wrong." I fell silent. Those words felt heavier than the gold in that box. From that day on, we carried a great secret. I hid the box in a place no one would ever think of. The certificates were tucked between my father's old books. We continued living as usual. I still went to construction sites. Isabella still did laundry work. My mother still cooked, though she often had to stop to catch her breath. A few weeks later, the first news came. I heard it from a radio at a small coffee shop. A well-known doctor had been named a suspect in an ethics violation and medical fraud case. The name was clearly mentioned: Adrian Cole. My hands trembled. My coffee cup slipped and shattered. Not long after, another piece of news followed. Vanessa's husband was arrested in a corruption case, dragged out of his office in handcuffs. I went home with my mind in chaos. My mother already knew. She sat silently staring at the wall. "This is what your father meant, Nathan," she said softly. I didn't reply. I only knew the storm wasn't over, and the secret in our small house would soon be tested by regret and destruction. The days that followed felt long. Adrian's name filled the news. His face appeared on television, head lowered. The white coat he once took pride in was now replaced by a prison uniform. A few weeks later, the verdict came. 7 years in prison, medical license revoked, dishonorably dismissed. That night, my mother didn't sleep. I could hear her crying through the thin wall. Before that wound could heal, news about Vanessa's family followed. Her husband was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Their assets were seized. The grand house we once admired from afar was taken over. Vanessa disappeared from her social circle. Her glamorous photos vanished from her phone. I kept working. I didn't know how to feel. The secret of the box remained tightly sealed. My mother forbade me from telling anyone. "This is not the time, Nathan." I nodded. One day, heavy rain poured down. Someone knocked on our door loudly. When I opened it, Vanessa stood there. Her hair was messy, her eyes swollen. No jewelry, no arrogance. She immediately fell to her knees. "Forgive me, Nathan." I quickly helped her up. "Come inside first." Vanessa cried for a long time, her words broken. "I was arrogant. I thought I would always be on top. I was wrong." My mother hugged her without saying much. That night, Vanessa stayed with us. Months passed. Life became tighter again. One more adult meant more burden, but no one complained. Then news about Adrian came again. His health had deteriorated in prison, high blood pressure, severe weight loss. 4 years passed, both quickly and slowly. In the fourth year, my mother fell ill. Her breathing became short, her body grew weaker. I went back and forth taking her to a small community clinic. One night, my mother called me. "Nathan, if I'm gone one day, take care of your father's trust." I held her hand tightly. "Mom, don't say that." She gave a faint smile. "I want to apologize one more time. I was blind when I had everything." Tears fell from my eyes. A few days later, my mother took her last breath in that small house. There was no expensive hospital, no luxurious room, just us and quiet prayers surrounding her. I handled the funeral with trembling hands. Vanessa cried without stopping. A few months later, Adrian came to my house after being released on parole. His body was thin, his face aged far beyond his years. He stood hesitantly at the door. "Can I stay here, Nathan?" I nodded. "Come in." On the first Thanksgiving after everything happened, we sat together. Adrian and Vanessa cried, years of regret pouring out without restraint. I looked at the faces that once rejected me, and deep in my heart I knew the time to reveal the secret was getting closer. That year, Thanksgiving came quietly. There were no expensive clothes, no grand feast, just simple food, a modest table, and a small rented house filled with memories. I attended church with Adrian. We walked side by side without saying much. He used to walk faster than me. That day, his steps were unsteady. After the service, he suddenly stopped. "Nathan, thank you for accepting me." I nodded. Nothing more. At home, Vanessa helped Isabella in the kitchen. Occasionally, she wiped away tears. Leo sat quietly in the corner, observing everything. After the meal, we sat together in silence. No loud laughter, no grand stories, just the hum of a fan and distant hymns. Suddenly, Vanessa spoke. "To be honest, I'm ashamed. I once shut the door on Mom. I humiliated her." Adrian lowered his head. "Me too. I was afraid my reputation would be ruined. I forgot who gave me life." I didn't respond. My chest felt heavy. That night, I stepped outside to the porch. The old wooden box crossed my mind again. My father's trust, my mother's final words, they kept spinning endlessly in my head. Isabella followed me. "You look tired." I smiled faintly. "Sometimes the exhaustion isn't in the body." She held my hand. "Whatever you're holding on to, I trust you'll protect it the right way." Her words made my chest tremble. A few days after Thanksgiving, Adrian started helping however he could. He took Leo to school, fixed the leaking roof. There was no more commanding tone in his voice. One night, the power went out. We sat under candlelight. Adrian spoke softly. "If I hadn't been arrogant, maybe my life wouldn't be like this." Vanessa nodded. "We weren't destroyed because we became poor, but because we forgot who we were." I stared at the candle flame. Our shadows danced on the wall. I remembered my father's letter about worthiness, about timing. In my room, I opened my father's old books. The folder of certificates was still neatly hidden inside. I closed it again. "Not yet," I whispered to myself. A few days later, Mr. Hartono came again. He stood outside our house for a long moment before speaking. "Your father would be at peace seeing this." I didn't reply. My hands were sweating. He looked at me sharply. "Time keeps moving, Nathan. That trust isn't just about keeping it. It's about choosing the right moment." That night, I couldn't sleep. I heard Adrian coughing in the next room. Isabella was holding Leo close as he slept. I stood in the middle of that small house, feeling like a guardian standing at the door of fate. And I knew, When the secret was finally revealed, not everyone would be ready for what came with it. The nights grew quieter than ever. Since Mr. Hartono reminded me of my responsibility, my mind had never truly rested. I still went to work every morning, carrying cement and sand as if nothing had changed. But in my head, my father's voice kept repeating, "Don't rush." Adrian often woke up at night coughing. His body hadn't fully recovered from years behind bars. Vanessa helped Isabella cook, clean, and wash clothes. There was no pride left, no harsh words. One evening, as I came home covered in dust, Adrian was waiting on the porch. "Nathan, can we talk?" We sat side by side. "I'm not asking for anything," he said quietly. "I just want you to know, if one day I have to leave, I won't blame you. You've already been too kind." My eyes grew wet. "You don't have to go anywhere." He shook his head. "I know I was cruel. The door I shut on Mom now feels like a door to hell that swallowed me whole." I didn't respond. His words were too heavy. A few days later, Adrian fell seriously ill. His body burned with fever. Isabella and I took turns taking care of him. In his delirium, he kept murmuring, "Forgive me, Mom, forgive me." My mother was gone, but his regret remained alive. As I prepared warm water, Vanessa grabbed my hand tightly. "Nathan, if I recover from all of this, I want to start over. I don't want to become the person I used to be." I nodded. In the corner, Leo watched everything with eyes that had grown too mature too quickly. One night, he asked softly, "Dad, were Uncle Adrian and Aunt Vanessa bad people before?" I paused for a moment. "They lost their way. Now they're learning how to come back." Leo nodded, then hugged me. I prayed silently that my son would never have to learn about pain this deeply. A week later, news began to spread. People started looking for my mother, former business partners, bankers, even journalists. They had heard rumors about her old assets. I became more cautious. The box felt like it was breathing on its own in its hiding place. Mr. Hartono came again. His face was tense. "Your father would be at peace seeing this." I didn't reply. My hands were sweating. He looked at me sharply. "Time keeps moving, Nathan. That trust isn't just about keeping it. It's about choosing the right moment." That night, I couldn't sleep. I heard Adrian coughing in the next room. Isabella was holding Leo close as he slept. I stood in the middle of that small house, feeling like a guardian standing at the door of fate. And I knew, when the secret was finally revealed, not everyone would be ready for what came with it. The nights grew quieter than ever. Since Mr. Hartono reminded me of my responsibility, my mind had never truly rested. I still went to work every morning, carrying cement and sand as if nothing had changed, but in my head, my father's voice kept repeating, "Don't rush." Adrian often woke up at night coughing. His body hadn't fully recovered from years behind bars. Vanessa helped Isabella cook, clean, and wash clothes. There was no pride left, no harsh words. One evening, as I came home covered in dust, Adrian was waiting on the porch. "Nathan, can we talk?" We sat side by side. "I'm not asking for anything," he said quietly. "I just want you to know, if one day I have to leave, I won't blame you. You've already been too kind." My eyes grew wet. "You don't have to go anywhere." He shook his head. "I know I was cruel. The door I shut on Mom now feels like a door to hell that swallowed me whole." I didn't respond. His words were too heavy. A few days later, Adrian fell seriously ill. His body burned with fever. Isabella and I took turns taking care of him. In his delirium, he kept murmuring, "Forgive me, Mom, forgive me." My mother was gone, but his regret remained alive. As I prepared warm water,
Vanessa grabbed my hand tightly. "Nathan, if I recover from all of this, I want to start over. I don't want to become the person I used to be." I nodded. In the corner, Leo watched everything with eyes that had grown too mature too quickly. One night, he asked softly, "Dad, were Uncle Adrian and Aunt Vanessa bad people before?" I paused for a moment. "They lost their way. Now they're learning how to come back." Leo nodded, then hugged me. I prayed silently that my son would never have to learn about pain this deeply. A week later, news began to spread. People started looking for my mother, former business partners, bankers, even journalists. They had heard rumors about her old assets. I became more cautious. The box felt like it was breathing on its own in its hiding place. Mr. Hartorno came again. His face was tense. "Your father would be at peace seeing this." I didn't reply. My hands were sweating. He looked at me sharply. "Time keeps moving, Nathan. That trust isn't just about keeping it. It's about choosing the right moment."
We sat together in the dark. Adrian, Vanessa, Isabella, and Leo. In the silence, I spoke softly. "Whatever happens next, I want us to stay united. No suspicion between us." Adrian nodded. "I swear, Nathan." Vanessa cried. "Me too." Outside, the rain grew heavier. Inside that small house, I knew. The final storm was only waiting for its moment to break. That night, I asked everyone to gather. No raised voices, no commands, just one sentence that made the room feel smaller. "We talk tonight." Adrian looked uncertain. Vanessa stopped what she was doing. Isabella clasped her hands tightly. Leo sat quietly near the bedroom door. I took a deep breath and walked to the corner of the house. From behind a pile of old belongings, I pulled out the wooden box, the one that had been hiding alongside the rhythm of my heartbeat. Mr. Hartono stood beside me, his face calm, like someone who had been waiting for this moment for a long time. "This is Father's legacy," I said. I slowly unlocked it. The dim light reflected off the neatly stacked gold bars. Thick folders lay beneath them. Vanessa sobbed softly. Adrian covered his mouth. I took out my father's letter and read it, this time without a trembling voice. About my mother's later years, about distribution, and one sentence that froze the entire room. "Distribute it only when they are worthy of receiving it." I stopped and looked at each of them. Father didn't leave this to be hidden forever. He left it as a test. Adrian stood, then dropped to his knees. "I'm not worthy, Nathan. I shut the door on Mom." Vanessa followed, her shoulders shaking. "Me too. I humiliated her." I raised my hand gently. "I'm not here to reopen the past. I'm here to deliver the responsibility." Then I revealed the value. $55 million. The number fell like a stone into silence. No cheers, no smiles, only stillness. Mr. Hartono stepped forward. "Your father also left a message for me. The moment Nathan decides to open this box, he becomes fully responsible for everything inside it." I looked at him. "Starting tonight, sir, I appoint you as my trusted advisor. Security, legal matters, and initial management, I entrust them to you." He bowed respectfully. "I accept, for the sake of your father's trust." Isabella stepped closer. She didn't ask anything. She simply placed her hand on my arm. Leo hugged me from behind. I could feel his small body trembling. I looked at Adrian and Vanessa. "The distribution won't happen tonight. We will prepare it properly, cleanly, just as Father instructed." Adrian nodded, eyes red. "I'll accept whatever decision you make." Vanessa wiped her tears. "Me too." The night grew deeper. I closed the box again, not to hide it, but to prepare it. Outside, the rain softened. Inside, something long bound had finally been released. This was not the end. This was preparation. Since that night, the house grew quieter, not because of distance, but because each of us was lost in our own thoughts. Adrian and Vanessa became more reserved. The way they looked at me had changed, not as equals, but as if they were bowing to something unseen. The next morning, I still went to work, carrying cement, wiping sweat, returning home with the same aching body and the same pay. Nothing changed in my hands, even though behind the walls of my house, a fortune worth millions rested as a responsibility. Adrian waited for me on the porch one evening. "Why are you still working like this, Nathan?" I smiled faintly. "Because this is my life." He lowered his head, his voice breaking. "You could stop. You haven't even taken your own share." I shook my head. "Father never said the share must be taken now." Vanessa stood behind the door, her eyes swollen. She joined us. "We used to think we deserved everything, but we were empty. And you, who had nothing, are the one protecting everything." Her words fell softly, but hit hard. In the following days, Mr. Hartono began his work. Documents secured, certificates separated, everything carefully recorded. I gave only one instruction: nothing gets touched until the right time. One night, Adrian came to me carrying a small bag. "I'm leaving, Nathan. I got a job at a small clinic out of town. Not as a doctor, just administrative work." I silenced. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "I want to learn how to stand without a big name. If I'm still worthy, let time prove it." Vanessa made a similar decision. She chose to work at a small shop owned by a friend. No titles, no status. I watched them leave one by one, not in anger, but with a determination I had never seen before. One night, Isabella asked softly, "Do you regret it?" I looked at her. "If I take my share before they're ready, this wealth will only divide us. Father didn't teach that." Leo hugged me tightly. "Dad, you're amazing." I stroked his hair, saying nothing. Time passed. No celebration, no announcement, just quiet, real change. Adrian regularly sent updates. Vanessa began to smile again, even though she was tired. One afternoon, we gathered again. Unplanned, unintentional, sitting in the same living room. Adrian stood and hugged me tightly. "Forgive us, Nathan. Not because of the money, but because all this time you were richer than we ever were." Vanessa joined the embrace, her tears sincere. I said nothing. I just held them back. The box is still there, safe, untouched, waiting. And I am still Nathan, a construction worker who learned the most valuable lesson in life: that true wealth is not about what you possess, but what you are willing to delay to keep humanity alive within people.